People who wax others for a living. What's the worst horror story you have of a client? Please subscribe, like and leave a comment. Much love to you all. My male teacher told me this one. A very large lady would ask for a Brazilian wax, which includes the ass crack. She already had strong body odor, and when my teacher waxed the ass crack, the wax strip was caked in shit. She just about threw up on the client. I got waxed before my wedding, and she gave me a little wet wipe before she started. Why wasn't this person supplied several wet wipes, or did she just not use them? Client didn't use them. Eek. Maybe she couldn't reach. I was a hairstylist and we really only ever did facial waxing, and offered to clients as an upsell. A regular client of mine was traumatized by a prior waxing experience with a stylist that was not myself years prior, and declined. Well, the stylist went to wax her brows and dropped a giant clump of wax on her lashes. Then proceeded to take a long time to remove the wax, I think like an hour, with only water and no oil residue remover that would have made the wax side off instantly. My eyelashes just retracted into my eyelids reading this. At least you have eyelids. I asked this very question to someone who was waxing me. Their worst is normally hygiene related, like a woman who'd clearly had sex at some point just before the appointment and hadn't cleaned out properly. OMG effing gross. I would say just avoid sex altogether beforehand. I mean, going one morning without isn't the end of the world. Yep. If I remember correctly, her partner was in the apt with her, or waiting outside too. I can't remember exactly, as I was pretty shocked to hear that story. Sounds like maybe it could have been a kink thing. There are too many, truly. It can be awful. Most stories have to do with bad hygiene, some with clients' attitudes or actions, and some will just be plain old problems getting the hair off. I haven't had a really bad one in a while, or maybe I just am not fazed by it anymore. A favorite of mine was the girl who came in for a Brazilian and was shaking from nervousness before we even started. I'll spare you the details, but it took over an hour to finish the service. Usually takes 15 to 30 minutes, 45 is the most it should ever take, and at some point she had a full-on anxiety attack. I was being as gentle as I could considering I was ripping hair out of her body, and after every pull she sat up, cried loudly, and then dropped back onto the bed. She got off the bed still half naked, and started pacing back and forth loudly sobbing and hyperventilating. I was trying my best to keep her calm, but honestly, it was all in her head. Getting your hair ripped out always hurts, but her hair should have been an easy service. She let herself panic, and the fear got to her. After she left, I sat in the break room, took a deep breath in, and starting sobbing lol. I was so glad to be done with it. She was sweet otherwise, no smell, easy hair to work with, but god, that was the most stressful service of my life. She actually came back a few more times after that, and we finished in 20 minutes, no more incidents. Edit. As much as she struggled to get through it, I want everyone to know that no one was telling her she had to. I asked if she wanted to stop, and she said she was pushing herself to do new things despite her high anxiety. No significant other pulling the strings, and I certainly didn't force her to go through with it. Some women do it for other people. Many, I would even say most, women do it for themselves. My first Brazilian, I was so nervous. I have anxiety and pushed through it without complaints, but I definitely left sweat marks on the table. After the next time I was fine. I'm like this with all new services of any kind really, and I'm happy she felt comfortable with you to keep going back after. That first one is a killer even for people without anxiety. I almost quit my first time. I think just that fear of not knowing what's ahead and knowing how painful it is enough to discourage anyone. Recently I had one involving a period. Let me be clear that I'm absolutely fine with people coming in while on their periods, but we require a certain level of hygiene. Basically, you need to wear something that will stop the blood flow during the service. A tampon, diva cup, etc, or at the bare minimum just come on a spotting day and not a heavy flow. We also provide wet wipes to freshen up prior to the service. A woman checks in, and after she signs our form she asks to use the bathroom. As she walks past I get a whiff of an unpleasant smell, but I couldn't tell what it was. She exits the bathroom. I set up the service room and let her get ready for the service. When I come back in I open the door and a hot blast of some stench hits me like a brick. This woman had by her own admission been walking around for 8 hours on her period with a pad on. She had gone to the gym and run 2 miles. Congrats. And then went to the bank, grocery store, etc. while wearing this pad. Menstruating people of Reddit, you know that smell when your sweat, bacteria, and blood have been mixing and sitting in the heat for hours. It was like that, but so strong. I obviously didn't say anything, and proceeded like normal. I lift the towel off of her pubic area and the smell intensifies. Again, poker face. We have her butterfly her legs, and as she opens her legs wide it intensifies again. I look and she hasn't bothered to wipe down. There's blood smeared and crusted on her bikini line and blood lining her labia. In the bathroom she had taken the pad off, but it was too late. The smell was set in her skin after hours of activity. The stench was so bad I was holding back gagging, and just start breathing through my mouth. The string on the tampon she put in was coated in blood because she hadn't bothered to wipe down. I covered her in a hefty serving of baby powder, lavender scented cornstarch, and tried to nonchalantly clean up as I went. We got through it, and I hope I never see her again. TLDR, woman comes in on period, doesn't clean up before the service, gagging ensues. I get a full Brazilian laser done, and I will reschedule my appointment if I'm on my period, despite the fact that I change my tampons and shower regularly. I also always book my laser appointments in the morning, so I've literally just showered. I can't imagine rocking up stinking of old period blood and gym sweat. Same here. Brazilian laser done, although it didn't get it all, but when I let someone see my bag then I gotta clean it beforehand. I cannot imagine disrespecting a gynecologist, doctor or beautician by having it so dirty and having it done while on your period. Why? Extra sensitivity down there during that time. I wax my own eyebrows / mustache at home. Recently, I decided on a whim I wanted to wax off the tail of my eyebrow entirely to make drawing them on easier. I put the wax on, pressed the waxing cloth to it, ripped, and nothing came off. The wax would not stick to the cloth like it usually does. I had to pull the wax off with my fingers, little by little, with each hair of my eyebrow being pulled out individually. Don't be me. Something I learned to do is fill in your brows like you normally would, and then pluck the brows that aren't filled in, if that makes my sense. It makes it so much easier and faster to do your brows. Smells. Finding crusty things and not wiping very well. Gag. You ever have that moment where you click on a subreddit and then immediately regret it? I know everyone is different, but I don't know how people go in to get waxed without scrubbing every nook and cranny furiously before their appointment. Like, you know someone is going to see that part of you, why not make sure it's clean beforehand? People come in on their periods, wearing pads. They just don't care. Welp, after reading this thread you can now call me an anti-waxer. I'm not the esthetician. I was the person who was being waxed. I have a reaction to extreme pain where I laugh. The esthetician said it was better than swearing or yelling at her, but I can only imagine the conversation she had with her co-workers after I left. I have the same problem. Whenever I get anxious about something happening to me, or I'm in pain, I just laugh. The first time I gave blood, the lady kept looking at me like I was crazy, even after I explained myself. Story my aunt told me, 2 or 3 layers of skin came off with the hair, it was on a guy's genitals and there was a lot of blood and yelling. Stop. I mean, we all knew the risk of entering this thread, lol. I wasn't ready. This thread needs a explicit content warning. A waxer once told me that she had accidentally waxed a girl's tampon straight out of her pussy. The string must have got caught in the wax. Neither of them said anything for the next 30 minutes. First comment on Reddit ever, BTW. Glad it was this. Not me, but this happened to a friend of mine. She and her girlfriend decided to get Brazilian waxes together. It was her first Brazilian wax, so she had no frame of reference for how much it was supposed to hurt. First strip, okay, few more, fine. Then one more pull and mega pain. The wax looked terrified, but then just smiled and just quickly made gestures for her to get dressed and come out front to pay. This happened in South Korea. When she got home, she inspected the area and the waxer had actually ripped her labia. She had to immediately go to hospital to get stitches to have it repaired. All my friend did was go back to the salon with her hospital bill and demand that they pay it and call the matter settled, which they did. Not a waxer, but an eyelash technician. One time I had a client come in with crabs in her eyelashes, which was obviously the worst thing I've ever seen. Frequently people come in for fills and haven't bothered to clean their eyes for 3 weeks, thinking it will make the extension stay on longer, resulting in a nice layer of yellow crusties all along the lash line. Gagging. That's disturbing. Ew. Not me, but the stylist who waxes me. She told me she had a girl come in with a tampon. Normally, most of stylists are okay with that, but they will ask you to hold it to one side or the other while they're doing the waxing. This girl let go of the tampon string before the stylist stripped off the wax, and the tampon ended up smack against the wall. Due to the impact of the tampon, blood was splattered in multiple places on the wall. Apparently they had to repaint it. She says they both laughed like crazy about it, and, to her credit, the girl offered to pay for the wall to be repainted.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.